I don't know whether I will count myself as a top product manager, but yeah, I think there is always, especially when you work with such a smart set of colleagues, there is
Right.
always something to learn. Two, three things which have worked for me. One is it's a very high ownership role, which is little different than program management, I would say.
Interesting caveat that you mentioned is that you knew the ads business, and that is what helped you become a product management.
Invest in your brand. People don't I would say appreciate it that much. Your brand matters, okay, and brand is what people talk about you behind your back, okay.
Yourself has never worked as an engineer before. You've worked in sales, you've worked in marketing, pre-sales, you've worked as product analyst, product manager, not core engineering, right? So how did you learn all of these things? Did it happen during the transition, or did this happen like over the last? In today's episode, we have with us Ashutosh Kumar, product lead at Google, where he's building Gemini AI agents at Google Ads, tools which are used by millions of people worldwide. But what's interesting about Ashutosh is his journey to product management. He did his engineering from IIT Kharagpur, then moved from sales to account management to program management, and then finally to product management at Google. But what's special about Ashutosh that he's now leading AI-first product strategy at Google without ever having a technical or an ML background. And in this episode, he breaks down why you don't have to be an ML expert to become an AI product manager. What are some of the biggest myths about being technical as an AI product manager? What is the difference between product and program management? What do recruiters really look for when they're hiring AI product managers? And his favorite interview questions which he asks to candidates to judge real product sense. So whether you're a fresh graduate or in college trying to break into product management, or a PM who wants to pivot into AI product management, this video is for you. So watch this video till the end. So Ashutosh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Nilayan. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. So your journey into product management hasn't been the most linear of all like generic folks in the industry is what I have noticed when I was like picking you out as a podcast guest. Like you started out as a product analyst from an engineering background, then you
Yes.
transitioned into product management, and post that you've worked in account strategy, which is like a mix of sales and marketing, and then program management, and then finally again product management, that to AI product management with AI agents. So it would be great if you could tell the audience like your about your entire journey and what got you back into building like the best AI products at Google.
Thanks, Nilan. Yes, I think so. If you look at my journey, to be very fair, like in college, like when I was graduating, I was not sure that that I wanted to be a product manager. I think I developed interest in product management over time. So just out of the college, I joined a startup as a product analyst. I think though I was placed somewhere else from the college, but didn't like that job. So I was trying something outside. So my first job was off-campus placement, as it is called. Yeah.
Yep.
Like so, I joined a startup, and they were an ad tech startup, and they were developing their own demand side platform. People in the ad tech industry will be familiar for display and video advertisement. And I joined them as a product analyst, but I was a very I was in the first top first 10. I was one of the first 10 employees. So though you join as a product analyst, you do I was that's my core job. But then other than that, you do a lot of work as well because it's a startup. So during that course, I also did a little bit of product management. I didn't know that I was doing product management, but actually I was doing product management, just figuring out what needs to be built, and talk
Right.
used to closely work with my CEO to build those things in the product. I was there in that company for a year and a half. Then basically because I had an ads background, I got a call from Google. Google had a very large ad operations out of Hyderabad office. Okay, so I joined they called me. I interviewed for a role at Google, which which was like campaign management account strategist role. You can think of it as a pre-sales role for ads business, like Google's ads business. Okay,
Right.
I did that role for a couple of years. Then as you know, you always want to do something on your own. So left, started my own company, ran that for a year, raised some VC money.
Right.
Didn't work out. It went out in the hyper local bust. Then after that, I again kind of boomerang to Google, joined Google back, and I was into a similar role where I was doing pre-sales for app advertisement. Okay. But I think the roles were pretty interesting. It gave me a very wide range of exposure, but I also wanted to kind of expand my scope. So then I moved into a kind of strategy function. As I mentioned, we had a very large ad operations out of Hyderabad. So like there's a role which was the goal of that role. If I have to explain in one line, was to how do we increase efficiency of our ad operations. So that
Right.
was the program management role I took, and then I focused it. You can think of like it as a strategy and operations kind of role, and I did that role for almost 2-3 years. I think that role gave me a very, I would say, good exposure of what product management is in a big company. Because what I did at a startup in my like at my first job, which was a startup, and also in my own startup, though I was doing product management, basically I was figuring out what needs to be built, but product management in a big company is quite different. Okay, like it's not as same as startup. And then I
Right.
really liked that role because in my program management role I was working a lot with the product managers, especially on the ad side, to figure out how we can improve the product, which can also improve our operations. And that where I thought like maybe this is the time I need to jump into that. And then obviously through an internal process, I went into product management, and because I had an ads experience, so I became a PM with ads. In ads I was focusing on advertisers facing experiences. And then obviously with the gen ai and llm being mainstream, there was an opportunity within the team to focus on um, like focus on what we can do with llm and how can we improve our product using llm. So that's where this opportunity arose, and I moved into ai product management. Um, basically we are trying to develop some solutions for google ads using llms. So if I
Awesome.
summarize, one thing which I would say is when I started my career, I didn't know I wanted to be a product manager. Forget about AI product management at that time. AI was not that mainstream.
Right.
But yeah, over the course of time, as I moved in my career, I kind of tried to do interesting things, and throughout jump and hope, like multiple jumps, I was I landed where I am right now.
Right. So, like, the most interesting thing that I found out about your role is like AI product management is considered to be a bit technical role where you have to understand AI, LLMs, how agents work, how data is being used to make these agents and then make these products. But you have mostly worked like all of your career, like over the last 10 years, into an account strategy program management role, which is not core technical. So maybe you can, if you can tell the audience how one can shift from, let's say, a non-technical role to AI product management, and how do they get started with like learning LLMs, agents, and the core of product management as well. That would be super helpful.
No, I think it's a very, I would say, wide scoped question. So
Yeah.
let me see if I can try to answer it in the best, in a way which is in the limited time which we have. Okay.
No, no, it's fine. We can talk. No worries.
Yeah. So I think when we think of AI product management, okay, and especially if you are coming, like, if you're coming from hardcore non-technical background. So in my case, because I was um, okay, so let me take a step back. What worked for me, I will in this role. So because I have been in ad space and also in Google, I have worked in ads business for a long. So at
Right.
least I had the product expertise of the ads, if I can say that.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Now, when I took this role, the where I'm using AI to solve some business problems, I didn't take it in any other domain space. I took it within ads only. So I'm trying to use AI LLMs in ad space. So now, if you're trying to use any technology, you have to learn the technology. Plus, you also need to learn the business. So let's say if I haven't worked in the industry, so the learning curve will be very steep. I need to learn the technology as well, its application, its nuances as well, plus also the business side of the things. At least in my case, at least I knew the ads business. So the only thing which I needed to focus on how can understanding LLMs and getting into more details about them. Okay.
Right.
So if you think of anyone who wants to move into, let's say, AI product management, okay, the
Hmm.
one thing which I would definitely say is that at least try to learn basics. Okay. There are like many courses in on Coursera, or like even like if you are in like if you are like someone who is interested in tech and who follows news cycle, you cannot escape it. Okay, so whenever you hear a topic, just try to go a level deep. In my case, I also try to read the like the papers, like which are coming out, because if you have a little bit of technical mindset, you will be able to understand them. You don't need to
Right.
you don't need to kind of uh, build them or like code them, but if you learn the paper, you will understand the concept. So at least one thing I think everyone should do, like who's interested in getting into AI or Gen AI, I think they should try to learn the basics and be as much like aware about that. Okay, so that's one. The second thing is like you also need to figure out at what level are you trying to play. Okay, and that is very important. So when I think of LLM, and this is not a standard classification, it's a classification which I have built for myself. Like there are three layers in which things are happening. One is at the foundational model layers. Okay, basically like chat gpt, Gemini, there's a lot of work happening, DeepSeek, lot of things happening at the foundational model level. Okay,
Right.
the second thing is like the infrastructure layer. like you know um, LLMs needs to serve, inference needs to happen, model needs to be trained, fine tuned, the infra needs to work, just like all so that ML AI infra layer. Okay, and
Correct.
the third is application layer, where you basically use these technologies to build some business problems, or solve for some business problem. Okay, now you need to be kind of be very sure at what layer do you want to play. If you look at the first two, like if you want to play in the foundational like model layer or the infra layer, you need to be little more technical and you need to really go technical. Okay, if you are trying to play at the application layer, basically we are using AI to to apply, like basically you're applying AI to solve a business problem. Then you still need to be technical. First of all, you can never be a good product manager without being technical. So I'm not saying that you don't need to be technical, but
Right.
your focus is not like getting into the details of the model and the infrastructure, but more around how can you use the technology to solve your problems. And so basically you understand the applications and the nuances of applying a very innovative technology or very new technology, sort of to solve for some business problem. For my, I thought I thought deeply about it, and I like considering my background, that I have never been a software engineer, to be honest. So considering my background, I thought I wanted to play at the application layer. I Tomorrow I might want to go at the foundational model layer thing, get into more detail. But when you
Right.
like at least, but the application layer gave me that little bit of headway, because I knew the business. I already knew that business. Now I needed to learn the technology and apply it to solve the business problem. So that's the way I thought about it. I think it worked well for me. So that's another model. Um, like if you want to talk about the product management, that's a very different story. Like then, like
Right.
product management is just not AI product management. There are so many aspects about product management which we can talk.
Got it. I think you told a very crucial part there where you can't be a good product manager without being technical. I would like to like you to like start the topic of product management by getting first into that topic where you mentioned ki you can't become a product manager if you're not technical. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah. So basically, so when I see so at least my hypothesis is that if you can't read a design doc written by your inch and understand that, okay, and kind of critique it, like critique it means like, hey, like this is good or this is not good, whether this will work or not, or I think then you cannot be a very good partner with inch. Then you just
Right.
become like writing, you will write a PRD and give it to inch, and then the inch will build. Then you cannot have the fruitful discussion with inch. Okay, and if you really want to understand a design doc and you really want to comment on a design doc or really want to have that fruitful discussion with your inch, then you need to be technical. And when I say when I say being technical, I don't mean that you need to code. Okay, but you should be able to understand all the basic foundations of technical design, system design, and other nuances which can impact the outcome of your product. So that is, I would say, like that everyone needs to understand. If you don't know that, and if you want to get into product management, even if it's like let's say if it is not being asked in the interview, I suggest everyone that hey, they should go and read system design, understand the things. Okay, and then like at least that will definitely help them in the job. So that's the basic I would say everyone should do.
So when you say design docs, do you mean actual like HLD, LLD, which classes are being used, which architecture is being used? Product manager should understand all of those things as well.
So see HLD is definitely you should understand as a PM. Like you can like system architecture also you should understand, and usually it's part of the HLD if you look at the
Right.
high level design. I think LLD is depends like how deep you want to go, to be very fair, like how detailed you want to go. So like but I definitely have worked with good product managers in Google who who can go into that detail and discuss with Hinge. Okay.
Wow.
And what I feel like that definitely like develops a trust with Hinge. Okay. and and Inch like in the end see Inch are your partners and you need to work like they are like 20, you have to work 24/7 with them. So
Right.
if you have those capabilities, it builds a trust with them and you become more effective in your like like in your role as a PM. So
Got it.
yes, like I would say yes, but HLD is the minimum you need to be there
Got it.
actually. Yeah.
Got it. Like how you talk about product management, it seems like you very closely relate like product management with engineering. Like you feel like they're not separate units, they're actually part of the same thing which is being used to develop product, which is again very, very interesting.
Yes, I think definitely I agree. Like at least in Google, like what I have seen, like the way we work is like India are your partners, and they have like it's it's a very collaborative process. Not like hey, you write a PRD and the Inge will build it. No, it's a very
Right.
collaborative and discussion oriented process. I think I would definitely say as a PM, you have many like as you know, the PM role is about cross functional management. So you have to work
Right.
with the UX side of the org. You have to work with the like sales, marketing. Okay, so they are definitely your important partners. But with Inch, you work more regularly because in the end, when they are developing something, you need to ensure that is being developed like the way you want it to be developed. Plus, like any issues they come up with, they will come to you for some of the product solutions because
Right.
there will be a product decision need to be made for certain things, and then you need to be work with them. So yes, yeah, you need to like be closely working with them.
Got it. And I think this is a very frequent question that I even get from like aspiring product managers is that how do I be more technical? Like you mentioned HLD, LLD, where you yourself have never worked as an engineer before. You've worked in sales, you've worked in marketing, pre-sales, you've worked as product analyst, product manager, not core engineering, right? So how did you learn all of these things? Did it happen during the transition or did this happen like over the last 10 years?
I would say both actually. Like see like because I was working in Google, so if you're in work like and I have always been in the tech industry, so you cannot
Right.
skip tech news. So at least you are aware about what's happening like with tech. So that's one. The second thing is like I think you need to be a little curious. If you read something like you should like you want to get into more details, say how it is working, why it is working. So I would say in my job I used to do that, and through that obviously I developed like the basic knowledge of system design, if I can say that. Okay. And when I was transitioning into the product management, then obviously I kind of spent some time in reading and understanding them and getting into detail. And what happened is like but I think that is I would say you can do it up to an extent which gives you a very good platform. And then as you get more experience, like I've been PM for some time, so as I get more experience, like I try to make a state like try to at least read all the design docs. Like I'm not saying I do like but I try to do most of the I try to read most of the design docs. Like so that what happens is like when you do that, so over the time you also develop intuition and the different nuances.
Right.
Sometimes you don't understand, so you ping your engineering partners and ask what does it mean, how it's working. So I think that I would say like it's both like throughout the career you learn, plus also but you need to invest some time in learning the basics and the foundations.
Right. Awesome. I think my next question would be around your program management journey because when a lot of PMs like aspiring PMs ask me like how do I become a product manager, a very common answer that I also give is go into adjacent product roles and then try to transition from there. And another interesting caveat that you mentioned is that you knew the ads business and that is what helped you become a product management. And I think that same principle can also be applied at when someone say works as a business analyst in say retail, or say in gaming, or in fintech, or let's say marketing, and they can eventually transition into. So I would like to know, like, as a program manager and a product manager, like, what does the role differ? Like, how much, like, what is the inclusion point? Like, how, what is the union of the roles? What are the, like, different responsibilities that people have?
I think it's an interesting question. Okay.
Hmm.
And like it is not very standard across different companies and industries. So
Right.
my answer will be a little specific to my experience. I just wanted to put out that caveat because program manager role is different across different companies. Okay.
Right.
But like let me try to kind of answer it in a way you asked, like what is the union and what is the difference. I think that's like that at
Yep.
least we can
Yep.
explain.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So see, as a PM, one key thing is like you are trying to manage a very cross-functional setup. Okay, you don't
Right.
have people reporting to you, but you are trying to convince people to do certain things. Okay, so
Right.
when I say cross-functional setup, you are working with sales, marketing, legal, UX org, engineering, and trying to get things done. I think program manager is also similar in nature. It means
Hmm.
you work a lot with cross functional partners. Okay, so you kind of develop that abilities to work with different stakeholders, which can be really helpful for your product management role if you want to move there.
Hmm.
The second point about program management which works is like, let's say, like when you're trying to manage a program, at least you will try to understand the business. You will understand different players, different dimensions of that business. Because if you don't do that, you cannot be a good program manager. Obviously you don't
Right.
need to figure out what needs to be built, what will be the new thing which you will do, but at least you will try to understand that piece. So let's say if you're a program manager in certain business and if you're becoming a product manager in certain business, you will transfer that knowledge with you. Like, let's say if you become a product manager in the same business, so that knowledge will be helpful because then you have understand different players of that business. So that
Right.
helps. Okay. The third thing I would say, which helps like when you are getting into the from program management to the product management is like people think of product management is like hey, you will think of some cool idea, write a PRD, and the engineers UX will design it,
Right.
engineers will build it. But that usually doesn't happen. Okay,
Right.
execution is a very big part of your product manager role. So you think of a idea, you build a PRD, then you work with engineers to build a design doc. But then you have also kind of ensure that the things are getting executed and things are happening. Okay, and things are happening as per what you have envisioned for the product. Okay,
Right.
I think program management role also gives you that no, like gives you that specific I would say skill set to kind of
Hmm.
which can help you in the execution when you are a product manager. Okay, so that's it. I think these are the some of the similarity points. And because program manager works very close with product managers, so if you are a
Right.
program manager, then you build relationship, you get opportunity to show your product sense actually because you are
Hmm.
almost meeting them every week. Okay, so I think it kind of gives the other person, especially on the product management side, to take a chance on you. Hey, this guy has been working with me, this guy knows the business, though he has not been a product manager, but like in my meeting, in my interaction with him, I find him interesting. He comes up with interesting ideas, so why don't we give him a chance to become a product manager, and he has shown interest. Okay,
Hmm.
and then you get a chance and then you prove and then you become a product manager. So that's the way I think this adjacent role helps. Now let's talk
Hmm.
about what is the difference. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, the biggest difference is like in the product management, you own the failure of the product. Okay,
Hmm.
so it's very so what happens is like if you are thinking about building a product. Okay, and if that product is not built, it is on you. Okay, so that's
Right.
so you own the complete failure. If it's success, then the success is gets distributed to everyone in the team, but failure is
Right.
your own. So you need, so it's a very high ownership role, which is little different than program management, I would say. Okay, the second thing is like you have to keep thinking about what needs to be built, think about your roadmap, think about your strategy, think about your future plans. Okay, from a product perspective, which is not part of the product management. Sorry, which is not part of the program management. Okay,
Right.
so that's a, okay. And the third is, as I mentioned, like as a product manager, you are working a lot more with engineers, especially on the product development. So those things you get you get less exposure in the program manager world, okay, than the product management.
Yep. So we have discussed about your journey from program management to AI product management. But let's say there's a fresh graduate, right, in 2025 who wants to become an AI product manager. Let's say it's fresh graduating from like in the month of April. What he or she needs to do to become an AI product manager, let's say in 2025?
I think that's an interesting question.
Hmm.
I think if you are a fresh graduate, okay, I would say, and you are just out of college, okay, I would say instead of becoming AI PM, let's try to, like, and if you are really interested in product management and if you think you want to give it a try, instead of focusing on being a AI product manager, I would say try to look for a APM role. Okay,
Right.
so if you get an APM role, I think, and especially with a company, with a firm who has who has few batches of APM role, so what happens is, like they have a very structured program, so they give a very good overview of how things work for a product management, like in that company, and also the generic PM skills, which are required for you. So
Right.
I encourage all graduates to try for APM programs, and many established companies have APM programs. Okay, so that's one. The second thing is, after, APM program is over, you usually have a option to join like any of the teams, and at that point of time when you are looking to join teams, try to find teams which are working in AI or ML. Okay,
Got
so
it.
that's the way slowly and slowly you build your PM skills, as well as, if you join the AI, AI focus or ML focus team, so you develop those skills as well.
Got it.
The
But
third point,
In
yes,
India, I don't think that rotational PM role actually like opens. I think Google
yes,
started this year,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
think prior to this year, I think none of the big companies like Microsoft,
yeah,
Stripe, they have that. So what would,
they
let's say,
hadn't
people in
that.
India do?
Yeah, and that is true. That is very true. That is very true. I think Google started APM program in India.
Yep,
Okay.
this year.
Yeah. So, and I think you should not like limit yourself to India only. You should also apply to global programs,
Got it.
especially I have seen people joining APM programs in the countries where visa is a little easier to get. So US is a little tricky to get the
Right.
visa, but for other countries, I see people applying from India and getting offers also, and things materialize. But I was coming back
Nice.
to your point specifically. Let's say if you don't have an option for APM program, you don't have exposure to APM program. I think the second best would be to do like join as a early PM in any company, which is ready to hire you. Okay. At that point of time, you can be little choosy. It means try to join startups, who are AI or ML focused, or trying to join team within a startup or a company which are like an AI ML focused. And the
Right.
way to differentiate yourself would be that you have already built some prior work in that area. You might not have the hands-on experience, but you can have foundational knowledge about AI and ML. You
Right.
in college you might have built some project to show yourself how interested you are in that. I think these are the ways you can try. Like also I always say you like if you're really interested, you have to do a little bit of hustle, especially if you are not part of a very structured program.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's correct. Like startups generally are more easier to crack as well. And I think you started your journey similarly, right? As
Yes,
a
yeah.
PM in a very early
Yeah,
stage startup.
I joined a startup. At that time, it was an ad tech startup. I didn't know much
Right.
about ad tech, but they took a chance. They gave me a product analyst role, plus I did product management there. So it worked out well.
Awesome. I think now let's get into, like, since you are like a kind of a senior product manager at Google, so what do you look for when, like, let's say very junior PMs are trying to get into your team or your department, or what do you see recruiters look for when they're hiring for AI product manager, let's say in 2025?
See, all these big companies have a very standard process, okay,
Right,
for interview. And I think, like, if you for and those like, I think the interview process are pretty standard in, like, in some sense.
right.
um, One thing I would say is, it's very important, like, if you're trying to make your CV little stand out. Okay, so what happens when your
Hmm.
resume, I think, after, like, let's say if you got shortlisted and then you got a call and you have your screening round scheduled, then it's all about your interview performance. Okay,
Right.
and I think, like, at least I don't need to give any information about interviews, because
Right.
there are plenty of resources available online. Like,
Any
and I think
specific resources?
I don't, like, remember any specific resource, but if you go to YouTube, there are so many channels, and I think many of them
Right.
channels, like, definitely do a great job of
Right.
explaining how you want to like crack the interviews. So I think that's good. And then obviously, I suggest everyone to read How to Crack PM Interviews. Say,
Hmm.
just ignore the first, I would say, big chapters. Just focus on the chapters which are
Interview
about
prep.
interview questions. So
Right.
I think I suggest that to everyone. But I would say the biggest hurdle is not the interview. Obviously, interview you have to crack it, but there are so many applications for a single role. So ensuring that your CV stands out and you get shortlisted, like, is very important. Okay, and in that sense, what I suggest to people, and I have been advising few startups, like, in terms of hiring, in which I have invested in, I think one of the easy ways to stand out is, like, showing that, hey, like, you have really, like, interest in that area, and you have done some side projects. So I tell you one example. I was
Hmm.
helping one startup hire a PM, like, and that used to be, like, that will be the first PM job. So it was,
Hmm.
I would say, it was a mixture of product management, program management, and also a little bit of, I would say, analytics. Okay,
Right.
and that startup was trying, like, using AI. The PM didn't have the prior experience with AI, but then he had done a lot of side projects on AI. Okay, and
Right.
he had mentioned those in CV. So that shows, like, that you have really interest and you really want to try that area. Okay,
Right.
so I think that I definitely advise anyone that, hey, if you want to get into a specific area, it's best to, like, try something, do something in that area, and show that hey, you have interest. Because, like, in my mind, like, like, you, if you are doing a job, you will learn, and if you are a smart person, you will be able to figure it out. The only thing is, like, whether you have the, uh, I would say, eagerness and curiosity to learn that. Okay, so that's what I advise people to look for. And I think the best way to show that is through, like, your side projects or something which you have explored on your own. And obviously, if you have your, like, let's say, if you are going, if your core role is definitely into AI,
Hmm.
and your next role is also into AI, or, like, something very similar to that field, then obviously you become a very, like, high probable candidate. But yeah, I think the other thing is, like, just explore, do something on your own to show that you have interest in that area.
Got it. So when you are creating these projects, let's say someone is trying to create an AI project for landing a role, let's say in Google, let's say in the ad tech team. So would someone try to build something like, okay, I've built this AI agent, which, let's say, creates an ad automatically, writes a copy, and uses the Google Ad Console to automatically generate the app, then runs through analytics, and then improves the ad automatically. Is this a project that someone would try to do, or maybe something? And one more question in addition to this would be, would people try to get users for this, or just an app that they use personally for their work would also work?
I would say, like, first, please don't do these things just to get a job. Okay,
Hmm.
you can do this, like, I think do these things to learn. Okay, so let's say if you're
Hmm.
applying for an ads role, you don't need to kind of, show your capabilities in ads only. PM skills are pretty transferable. Okay, like, that's the way I think about it. So I think what, at least what I look for is that, hey, you have solved some problem using the technology which, like, which is available. As simple as that. It doesn't need to be that domain specific. And the
Got it.
second thing is, please don't develop some project just for the job, because then you will not get into the depth of that. You're just trying to get things done. Okay.
Hmm.
And when if someone wants to deep dive, I think they will figure it out. Okay.
Right.
So please do, like, so that's what my advice is. Like, like, try to solve a problem, see if it works. Like, even if it doesn't work, that's fine. And obviously, I'm sure, like, if you are able to solve a problem, and if you are able to, like, get some users for that, so any good PM will do that, will try to do that.
Hmm.
So
Correct.
yeah, so I think you should not worry too much about it, like the area and all. Just use the current technology to solve a problem. If it hits, then obviously you will definitely, if you're a good PM, you will go and get users. Like, so that will
Got
be
it.
natural to you. So you don't need to worry about that.
Got it. So should like aspiring PMs be picky about their industry in which that they're applying? Like I've heard a lot of people say that okay, I only want to apply to companies like Zomato, D2C only because they feel that it's consumerish and it can directly see more results. Or people will say, okay, I want to go to B2B. Do you think that makes sense for an aspiring PM?
At least in the initial stage, I won't say that. Like, I would say, like, you should get as diverse experience as possible,
Hmm.
because if you don't have enough experience, everything which you have is based on what you have heard plus based on your assumptions. So I think unless until you do, you will not realize how interesting or how difficult or how frustrating it can be to be a PM in certain areas. So I wouldn't say, like,
Right.
you should not block yourself. Okay. At least for the initial few years, you should go and get as many experience as possible. Obviously, in the latter time, you, like, when you are trying to grow a corporate ladder, like, you get paid for your expertise in certain area. Okay.
Hmm.
So I think at that point of time you can choose, because it's very difficult to switch, like, in the people have done that, but it's very difficult to switch industry at a very higher level. Okay.
Right.
But at the lower level, you should try to get as much experience as possible, and that is one of my regret, to be honest. I would
Hmm.
have loved to be PM of different projects. Okay. And different types of, businesses, before kind of, joining into certain specific domain. So I would completely advise against to it. Like, you should not be too picky. You should definitely be picky about the company in which you are applying. Okay.
Hmm.
If, like, if a company doesn't have a strong product or culture, then you will not learn much there. Okay. A lot of PM roles, are basically program manager roles. Instead
Right.
of thinking of product, you are just managing, like, I would say, the pipeline and the Jira tickets. Okay. So I would say, instead of picking the industry or a specific project, choose the company which you are applying for.
So how do you actually recognize these companies that when I join this company, I won't be doing just program management, but would actually be doing product management?
Talk to people from that company.
Hmm.
Do reach out on LinkedIn. People do reply. If you reach out to 20-30 people, 2-3 of them will definitely reply. Okay. Try to talk to folks who are little junior. Don't try to talk to folks who are very senior, because at the senior level, all roles are like business roles. Okay. uh, and you will get a very good sense of it, how things are in that company. For established brands, you don't need to worry about it, because, like, let's say Google, Microsoft, Facebook, they have been there for a long time, so people know a lot about them. But still, like, within that, try to find out someone who is working in that team, to understand, like, how the PM role is there. And for other companies, like, talk to people. I think that's the best way to get out of it. Especially if you can get connected to someone through a friend, that's better. Then people can give you little more, I would say,
Honest.
honest and open advice, rather
Right.
than rather than sugarcoating their experiences. So yeah, I think that's what I do actually whenever I have to try something. I reach out to friends and family and try to find out, like, what's happening there.
Got it. So, like, you've worked in product management role in a startup as well as like companies in Google. And I would say that often in a startup, which I have faced myself multiple times, is that product management decisions are also a lot founder led. You do not actually take core product decisions as your own, like you do customer research and all, because a lot of these customer conversations, feedback is happening with the founders or the sales team directly, and
Yeah.
the product managers do not directly get involved there. So they're just mostly taking the role of execution, right? So
Yes.
would you suggest people taking that kind of a role early on in their career, or they should rather focus on like going for like established companies, let's say series C, D, E, where the product has much more decision making capability?
Yeah. See, I personally feel the best place for a PM to be in terms of learning, okay,
Hmm.
plus in terms of career growth, like from a compensation perspective also, and also from a experiences perspective, is if you join a Series B, Series C company. But that's a very personal, like I would say, choice, like I have, and this is based on certain hypothesis. Okay, like I have. And I'm not saying that people should follow it blindly, but this is what I think about it. Okay. As you mentioned, if you join a very early stage startup, you are not actually doing the product work because the founder itself is kind of, founder and co-founders are itself trying to find out the product market fit, find out which product
Hmm.
hits, and which revenue is sticking, from a recurring perspective. First, like 1 million ARR these days is not sticky revenue. A lot of people are saying that. Okay.
Right.
So I think there you learn a very important muscle, which is execution. That hey, if you got some brief, how do you kind of get shit done? That's a very important
Hmm.
PM skill. But I agree that a lot of product discovery will be driven by founders. Okay. If you join a very big company, like I think the best part is that you will be part of a very structured process. But then in the big company also, like if you're joining, you join at a very at a lower levels, not at a very lower level, but lower levels. Okay. And there also, like you spend a lot of time in execution, figuring out the bureaucracy, trying to solve, trying to get things done. And and in most cases you are not totally responsible for the strategy. Okay.
Hmm.
There are a lot many executives and senior PMs and the group PMs are driving the strategy. Okay, you do have some influence. I'm not saying you have zero influence, but then you are not the primary person driving the strategy. The second thing which I see is all these established companies, especially in established product, you already know about your customers. You already know about the things which you need to do. So you already have more things to do than you can do. And then so the product sense which needs to be developed takes a lot of time to develop. And the third is like your a lot of time will get into managing people, like, and when I say managing people, not they will not directly report to you, but ensuring that you are able to solve for the company's bureaucracy, which can be a little frustrating also. Okay.
Hmm.
Although you will learn a very important skill how to deal with cross functional partners very early on, but still it has its pros and cons. Okay. And your monetary upside is good, but it is limited. Like stocks is growing, but it is not growing to grow 100x or even 10x, let's be honest.
Right.
Okay. But whereas when you get into a series B, series C company, I think that's a very sweet spot. You
Hmm.
have a product market fit, there is some recurring revenue in the company. Okay. There are more things to do, which a founder or co-founder can handle. Okay.
Hmm.
So the best part is like get into the company, try to pick an area and just focus on that and try to solve that. You develop a good product sense, you develop product strategy also. And if the company becomes successful, your monetary and compensation wise upside is really huge. Okay.
Got it.
And also not a, because as you rate series B and series C, this it's a startup, so it is going to be chaotic, but it is
Hmm.
not that chaotic where you are like just scrambling and surviving day by day.
Got it. Understood. So yeah, to join Series BC companies, avoid program management. Talk to people before joining any company, preferably if there are your friends or if there are connections to your friend. I think those
Yes.
are some things that would be super helpful. Awesome. And one last question about this entire AI PM job hunt thing. So, when let's say you are interviewing someone for AI product management, or even a product manager who's working in an AI team, he might not be working in a core AI product. But what do you actually look for in them apart from the project? So, let's say the project thing is done. Now they have
Yeah.
gotten the interview. So, what do you look for in terms of pure AI skills or technical skills, or even pure product management skills? Like, do you actually tell them to like explain how does an LLM work, how can an LLM solve these kind of use cases, and discuss over them? So what does that look like?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think whenever you are trying to hire someone or interviewing, you are definitely looking for foundational PM skills. That is table stake. Okay, so you have to
Hmm.
do that. So like, and anyone does that, just not me. Okay? From a PM like from an AI perspective, I'm definitely looking for, I would say, two things. One is if the person is aware about what's happening in the industry. Okay,
Hmm.
so obviously you are not, I'm not expecting you to read all the research papers, but you should be able to understand, like the big trends and what, why and how of those big trends. Okay, so that's one I definitely. The second thing is I'm also look see I personally feel most of the good PM work in AI will be at the application level. So, okay,
Right.
so I don't care if you don't know how the foundational model was trained. At least personally, I don't care. Okay, but I definitely know want to see that, hey, do you understand LLMs or do you understand AI in such a way where you can apply it to solve a business problem? So so I usually ask a lot of questions around application. Hey, if you have to apply this, what are the factors, which you have to consider? Like why will it work? Why will it not work? Okay. One of my favorite part of AI PM interview is evaluation. Like
Hmm.
the biggest problem for any AI system is designing a good evaluation system. Okay, so that those are the things which I ask for, because I feel PM can contribute a lot and drive value at the application layer rather than sort of foundational model training layer, and that is where I try to focus a lot of questions.
Got it. So can you give me an example of like what does an evaluation question look like?
So let me give you explainer here. So I will give them a, hey, this is the application, AI application which we are developing, and like how do you know, that this thing is solving the use case, which is solving. Plus, how will you ensure that any new update, any new model release is not, like um, is not kind of no is not regressing like the progress. Basically it's how do you kind of solve for, or how do you test for whether any new model changes or product changes cause regression, because these are not deterministic system, these are very predictive systems. So how do you do that? Okay,
Awesome. Okay.
so I think so this is like, and this is very important because as a PM, like you have to spend around 50 to 60% of your time thinking about these
Right.
and solving for these use cases.
Absolutely. So I think you can't just build a product which will then be consumed by, let's say, Google or OpenAI in the next 2 years, right?
Yeah,
Which a lot of memes and everything that has been happening over the past 2 years in AI, where there are memes coming out like where people are saying, "Ki OpenAI just killed this product with deep
yeah,
research. If OpenAI just killed this industry, OpenAI just killed designers, all of these things, right?" That's absolutely awesome.
yeah.
Got it. So now you mentioned like this application layer and the use cases, and you yourself are working in AI agents, and this agentic AI has become such a big buzzword currently in 2025. So I would want to know like how are you thinking around AI agents? Let's say 2 years ago this was not even
Yeah.
accessible or available to anyone, right? Suddenly there's a new trend or a technology that has come up in 24, 25. And how do you see that span out like in the next 5 to 10 years? What are those use cases that will evolve? And if I have to ask you that question yourself, like what are those use cases which will be actually bettered with the output if the models increase and will not be regressed?
This is a very difficult question to answer, because I mean I don't know what will
Right.
happen 5 years down the line. I think if we
Right.
believe Sam Altman, we might have AGI.
Right.
So who knows what will happen? But the way I think of AI agents is like I think people, at least that's my thinking is that people are also um, making too much, I would say, noise about AI agents. Okay, and the way I think about AI agents is like, hey, initially you were able to automate the process which were very deterministic in nature. Okay, where where no thinking was involved. Like you can, if you create a flow chart, then you can automate that process. Okay, using the current software systems available. Okay, what AI, like the new LLM models have done is that you can now automate the process which requires a little bit of decision making. Okay,
Hmm.
so and as models improve, the decision making will get better, so you can automate more and more processes. Okay, so I think that's the way I think of AI agent. Okay, it's basically you are trying to automate the processes where a little bit of decision making was required, and that's why human was getting involved. Okay? So you are not trying to replace that human with the with the LLM, uh, with the LLM or AI systems, like sometimes multiple LLMs. Okay, I think this will continue to increase. Okay, so if you think of any repeatable job, okay, in which not a lot of deep expertise was required, and you
Hmm.
can train someone in, like, let's say a month. Okay,
Hmm.
I think those processes will get automated over time, and you should be ready for that. Okay, so
Got
that's the
it.
way I think of the AI agents ecosystem will evolve. Okay, uh, and then we will have to see like how the LLM models evolve. But that's what I feel, that like over the time, all these processes which didn't require a lot of deep expertise, will be kind of automated using AI agents. And over the time, I'm sure like we will be able to solve for accuracy and factuality of the responses. And I think slowly and slowly these models will get better, the systems will get better, and we will see this kind of flowing in.
Got it. So now there's a very hot question that I want to ask, which I've like seen personally a lot of CEOs reply as well as a lot of people getting feared by. Is first question, if I have to talk with respect to product management, a lot of people fear that AI might replace product managers as a whole, as people are fearing about like, will AI replace software engineers or replace designers? Where like Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, came in and say that we will replace all of our mid-senior or mid-level engineers by 2025, 2026. The CEO of a big trillion-dollar company saying that. So what do you say to that? Like these aspiring software engineers or PMs are getting scared, like saying Mark Zuckerberg is saying this. What should I do? So what would your advice to these folks be?
Obviously, I think Zuckerberg has much more exposure than me, so
Right.
so obviously he has more data points than me. But like here is my thinking actually, so if you look at OpenAI evolution,
Hmm.
okay, so when OpenAI started, there was no PM roles in there. Okay, you go to OpenAI website, look at their career page, and
Hmm.
go, they were hardcore deep foundational research companies, and all they were hiring for research scientists or software engineers. Okay, but now in the current phase, they have some of the best LLMs. Okay, but when they are trying to build solutions to generate revenue, okay,
Hmm.
I think they are hiring PM. So if you go to OpenAI career page, you will find some PM roles open there. Okay,
Right.
and in my mind, that's a very good indication of how the PM roles should be. Okay, or how the PM roles will evolve. So if you are a PM, just focused on getting things done, execution and other things, I think and a very huge part of that, will get automated through new technologies. Okay,
Hmm.
and LLM, I'm sure will become better and will do a good job. Okay, like even like I know a lot of people have started using LLMs to write their, at least restructure their PR days and all. Okay,
Right.
so that will automate. But there are other core aspects of PM role, talking to cross functional people,
Right.
bringing the alignment across cross functional setup, talking to kind of ensuring what product needs to be built by talking to different people, figuring out like you know how you can put a wrapper on the current technology to make it a revenue stream. I think,
Hmm.
I don't think those roles are going uh, anytime soon. I think what will happen is the number of roles will definitely decrease over time, because what
Hmm.
will happen is that productivity will go up, efficiency will go up. Okay, so you might require less people to do that. Okay,
Hmm.
okay. So the way I think of it is none of these roles are going away anytime soon. Okay. I don't know what will happen after 10, 20 years, so I'm not going to predict that, but I don't think any of these roles are going anytime soon. There will there will be a boost in productivity. Okay. And I think for that, for these regions, you will see a lot less roles getting opened. Okay. And the demand for more senior people will go up because the senior people will bring expertise to create solutions on that. Okay. So I'm not saying the future is so bleak. Okay. But one thing which I would definitely say to all the folks, especially who are joining career at this point of time, or starting, sorry, not starting their career at this point of time, or joining some companies at this point of time, I think I think we should focus on being expert in our area. Okay, develop deep expertise. Don't just trust on the shallow skills. Okay, and especially where you are like develop those soft skills which are definitely helpful for the human to human interaction. I don't think those things are going away anytime soon, and that can be your superpower if ever LLM takes over.
Awesome. That I think that's a very interesting answer to the question. I won't probe you too much into this. This can go philosophically to
Yeah,
multiple angles.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say that, like, if you want to debate on this topic,
Yeah.
I have some thoughts, like,
Right.
the global fertility rate is going down, so don't know, like,
Right.
we will figure it out. There will be a period of flux, but then we can have a debate on
Correct.
this. Like, it can take an
Right,
hour
right.
or
This
two
can take an hour.
or
This
more
can go
than
in
that.
a completely different topic. All
Yes,
right, so I
yes.
think we'll get back to like the topic in hand. So let's say someone becomes an AI product manager. One thing I have heard from a lot of people who want to shift to AI product management or have just shift, but they're having problems like talking with AI researchers and data scientists and understanding and communicating, like you mentioned, cross-functional things, right? So till now they were interacting with business folks, sales, marketing, but suddenly there's one new entire persona that has come up, which is data scientists and AI researchers, and you have to talk with them, get results out of them, and you also have to think from a, I think, Google, OpenAI, all of these, you would have to think from a research innovation point of view as well, right? Because based on what the researchers are doing, you now also have to think how your product will look like in the future, because anything can happen and we as PMs might not be technically adept with whatever is going on from a pure product point of view. So what do you see, like how do people get used to doing that or get better at doing that?
Yeah, I think so. I would say one thing is, I think the best product gets developed, okay, where, like, people can bring complementary skills like in a team. So I think obviously, if you're an AI PM, you have to work with AI researchers. You have to work with data scientists and research scientists. Okay. In that sense, what you need to first do is you need to work with them to understand the basics of what they are proposing. Okay. You don't need to be an expert in that area, but like if you are, like, not able to understand the basics of that technology or the solutions which they are proposing, you will have a challenge. Okay. So you
Right.
should try to spend some time in learning that. Okay. uh, the second thing you should do is, like, at least learn the jargon.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, like, like if you are thinking about factuality and you do not understand what safety and factuality mean, like, and if you're thinking about evaluation, you don't know what these means, then that's a problem. Okay.
Right.
So try to kind of, learn the jargon. Okay, that helps, like, in building rapport with the people. Okay. The third is, obviously, you are not trying to compete with them, you are trying to complement them. So AI researchers and scientists are very good at defining the solution. They are might not be very good at, like, defining the user facing part of the product. Okay. So bring that, like, be the bridge or between the user and the researcher. So figure out, like, what user is looking for, how they are trying to solve, what are they trying to solve. Okay. And then try to kind of, bring that perspective to the users, sorry, to the researchers. Okay. To kind of, tell them the value which you are driving. Okay. And the fourth is like especially people who wants to really get into the technology and who are researchers, they don't want to deal with the complexity of cross functional setup. They don't want to go and
Hmm.
talk to legal marketing, and that is where you can shine. Okay, that is where you can kind of provide value. So if you understand the core part of technology, you can go and explain it to legal or the marketing on how they should interpret it. So these are the ways I would say you need to kind of be there with them. Okay, and develop rapport with them over time, and that and people acknowledge, hey, this guy is definitely bringing some value which I either don't want to do or don't have expertise to do. Okay,
Hmm.
so I would say that's the I would say a very big part of a PM role is that your expertise is not about just being technical or understanding the technology. Your expertise is about your understanding your cross-functional partners and their needs, understanding users and their needs, and that's where you should focus on.
Got it. And like when product managers are working with AI researchers, like do they have the authority to mention like this is not good enough? I want the let's say this metric to be this or this result to be like this, or is that decision completely taken by the research team and whatever you get result from there, you use it in your product? How does that cycle look like?
No, I think everyone is right to say and demand things. I don't think it happens that,
Hmm.
hey, this is what we can do now. Use it. Like I just like if you are developing some reporting solution, you
Hmm.
want your accuracy to be at near 100%.
Right.
Okay, and if any system is not able to give a near 100% accuracy, then you will not use it. You will go to the researchers and say, hey, this is not working. You need to figure something out, and they will also accept it because it has a business and user impact on that. So I don't think it's such black and white that, hey, you will
Hmm.
drive the discussion versus AI researcher will drive, because so in the reporting example you can demand, but now let's say you go and give them advice about, hey, this is the way you should fine tune the model.
Hmm.
Okay, they might ask you, hey, why do you think so, and then they might not listen to you because they know this that stuff better. But then in the end you are going to evaluate the output of that.
Hmm.
So I won't say it's so black and white that whether they will drive or versus you will drive the things. It does
Right.
depends on what you are talking about.
Got it. So then let's imagine like I'm taking another case, like let's say a very complex case where you don't know whether this is even possible or you're just experimenting. It's a very new product. How does that work look like?
I think as a PM, you are going to define the user experience first. Okay, hey,
Hmm.
this is the product which I want to build. Okay, this is these are the features broadly will be there. Okay, and
Right.
this is the level of accuracy and safety I want. Okay, like
Hmm.
you, that's your core job. Okay, and then basically you go to your engineering team or you work with them to figure out which solution can give those things. Okay, I would say, like that's the way I would say most development happens, and that's where you and your research group will negotiate and come up with things. Okay,
Right.
there's a second type of product development where researchers have built something cool. Okay,
Hmm.
and then basically you think of like, hey, is there any product use case of it? Okay, so then what happens is like at that point of time you see like you don't get into like improving the current technology. You use the current technology to build a product and then start testing out. And once you start testing out your hypothesis, then you realize, hey, this is the problem in that, and then you go back to the researcher to fix
Hmm.
those things. Okay,
Right.
so it happens both ways, and in both ways everyone is playing a very distinct role. Just that what happens first versus what happens second changes in these two scenarios.
Got it. Understood. All right, so I think it's mostly like a cycle which happens like, okay, this is not working, let's go back. Researchers saying that, okay, we can maybe push this up. There's some trade off which is happening with the engineering, with the researchers, and it finally gets into a product which is an MVP
Yeah,
or something.
I would say any product launch is iterative process and you should be comfortable with it. Like if your
Right,
first launch is very successful or it's perfect, then like I don't know, so like as people say that you have launched is too late.
right, correct. Yep, very YC kind of
Yeah, why
statement.
say I
Yes,
think it's Paul Graham's. I'm
Paul
not remember.
Grams.
I don't remember. I'm
Yes,
I'm assuming it's his quote, but I don't like it might be
your
someone else's.
MVP, your MVP shouldn't take more than 2 weeks to build or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think we're at the final stretch of our podcast where I just want to hear some of the like personal wins or personal growth strategies that you have used in your career so far to become like a top product manager. So let's say top three skills or top three strategies that you have used in your career to become a top product manager, or that somebody can use in their career as well.
I don't know whether I will count myself as a top product manager, but yeah, I think there is always, especially when you work with such a smart set of colleagues, there is
Right.
always something to learn. Um, I think there are two, three things which have worked for me. One is try to get things done, okay, irrespective of, like, what situation you are in, okay. I think you should be known as someone who can, if you like someone, you should be known as someone who can get things done. Okay, so that's one. um, the second is invest in your brand. Okay, people don't, like you know uh, like I would say appreciate it that much unless until they have like 10, 12 years of work experience. Okay, like your brand, your brand matters. Okay, and brand is what people talk about you behind your back. Okay, so
Right.
ensure that you have a brand, and that brand perception is what you want people to perceive. Okay, and for that you will have to do certain things. You have to do that. Okay,
So brand inside the company.
and in the industry also, like
Okay.
see, let's say see your brand travels. People you have worked with, they will not live in the same company. They will go to some other company. Okay, and
Right.
then they will talk about you. People talk about people, so that will always be
Right.
there.
Got
So
it.
just ensure that you should be known for something, and you should define what you want to be known for. Okay,
Got it.
and the third is like be open to change and take certain risks. Okay, what I mean by that is sometimes you get a role and you are getting good growth in that role, so you become comfortable and you don't change. Okay, but if you feel that if your learning has stopped, okay, and this is what, like, this role can max offer you, then be open to change, including letting go of promotions or some initial, raise. Okay, because whatever experience you build in initial 10, 12 years will kind of, will give you 10x, 20x as you grow to senior positions. So I definitely advise people to be open to change, not just get stuck with a certain role, for very long.
Got it. That's wonderful. I have one question regarding the brand thing. So, what would be some examples of brand that people can build? So, I think one example you gave was get shit done. You have to be known in the company to be
Yeah,
like the this guy get things done.
yeah.
What are some other skills or capabilities that people can develop?
See, as a PM, you need to be able to convince a very cross-functional setup. So if someone is seen as, hey, like if I give this guy a complex problem which requires alignment across so many people, like he can get it done. Okay,
Right.
so okay, that can be one example. The other can be, he uh, I can trust Ashutosh because he has high ethics. He is not going to steal my credit. Okay, I can partner with him very confidently that he will ensure that I am getting my due credits. Okay, um, the third can be, hey, Ashutosh knows about his work. So if I need to talk about ads with someone, maybe Ashutosh can be the right person to talk about ads. Okay,
Got it.
yeah, so these are the examples. I would say, I think you need to figure out like what you want to stand for. Okay, because there are multiple ways to be successful. I think you just need to figure out like how you want people to perceive you.
Awesome. Awesome, Ashutosh. I think this was it. Thank you so much for giving so much time. We had like a couple of weeks to do this entire podcast, and thank you so much for giving so much time here.
So thanks, Nilan, it was wonderful to talk to you. I think it's pretty interesting initiative on your side. Do let me know how I can help otherwise as well.
Absolutely.